Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Extra chapter. Just like the Ken and Shan stars, Part 3. After Zhi Xiaoduo and Xian Hezi climbed into the car, they both slumped into a deep sleep right away. Along the way, Xian Hezi bought some food and woke Zhi Xiaoduo up so they could eat. Zhi Xiaoduo ate a little bit, while Xian Hezi ate everything remaining. The two of them then slept for 10 whole hours. After waking up, Zhi Xiaoduo started to send Xiang Chen WeChat messages, all sorts of I love yous and you love me's. Xian Hezi asked, how long have the two of you been together? 5 years now. Zhi Xiaoduo was very happy after waking up. First, he whispered sweet nothings to Xiang Chen for a while, before then video calling with Lang dog at home for a bit, asking if it had eaten yet. Xian Hezi asked, I really envy you too. Zhi Xiaoduo glanced at Xian Hezi, and the both of them fell silent. I also really want to date someone, Xian Hezi said. Last time, when I had a blind date with you, I went back and kept wondering, when will I be able to start a family as well? Everything will happen in due time, Zhi Xiaoduo comforted. Before I met Xiang Chen, I also felt that my life was very desolate. What I eat is grass, and what I produce is milk, Xian Hezi murmured to himself. Zhi Xiaoduo. When the train arrived at the station, Zhi Xiaoduo, still sleepy, stood in the Xi'an train station. Xian Hezi led him along to the transit plaza to wait for a bus, and when they arrived at the old city walls, they went to rent bicycles. No way. Zhi Xiaoduo protested. We have to ride bikes to get to the Xi'an Exorcist Committee. In such hot weather? Can they not bully us like this? Xian Hezi asked, do you know how? If you don't, I can bring you along. Zhi Xiaoduo used to ride his bike to and from work, but he really didn't want to ride one now. With that, Xian Hezi rented a two-person bike, and Zhi Xiaoduo sat disinterestedly at the back. His legs did not move at all as they rode up the old city walls. In the beginning, they were surrounded by people, but when Xian Hezi turned into the first intersection, all of the visitors suddenly disappeared. Xian Hezi then rode the bike all the way to the end of the wall, before pulling up on the handlebars with both hands, anchoring the bike on the ground like he was doing some acrobatics. He used the bike tire to press down on one of the wall tiles, and that tile sank downwards. The tiles to both sides then began to part as if a switch had been flipped, and they rose into the air, taking the form of a long bridge. The bicycle sped down the steep bridge, entering the barrier of the Xi'an Exorcist Committee with a Wang. In front of them was a huge, majestic Ming-era city tower. Its flying eaves jutted out in all directions, and the pillars were red and the tiles green. The ground of the plaza in front of the tower was blazing with the heat of the day. The city walls to both sides were hung with wooden plagues. Get off! Xian Hezi stopped the bike and quickly walked into the Exorcist Committee through one of the side doors. Zhi Xiaoduo hurried after Xian Hezi, sending a text to Xiang Chen as he did so. Hello, hello. As soon as Xian Hezi went inside, he first went to shake the office staff's hands. Yo! Xian Hezi, you've come back. A bunch of women were sitting behind the clerk windows, eating melon seeds. Xian Hezi grabbed a handful of melon seeds and handed them off to Zhi Xiaoduo to eat, and Zhi Xiaoduo greeted them before Xian Hezi went to go find the higher-ups and make a detailed report. But what reality proved was that the pixie really could run very fast. Just yesterday afternoon, while Zhi Xiaoduo and Xian Hezi were still on the train, a case had occurred on Huan Street where a Yaoguai committed a robbery. A small Yaoguai had suddenly appeared, snatched away a leg of lamb that had been on sale in a street stall and greatly frightened the nearby residents. At that time, someone just so happened to have recorded how the event happened. Hey, Zhi Xiaoduo said, sticking his head out. Xian Hezi was still waiting for the higher-ups to send for him, and he had both his hands clasped between his knees, staring off into space. Zhi Xiaoduo hurriedly gestured at him. Look at this. Zhi Xiaoduo pressed the replay and slowed down the speed, only to see a golden yellow shadow shoot past. Is this it? Zhi Xiaoduo asked. Xian Hezi startled, before saying, yes. That's most likely it. The last time it appeared was on Huan Street, Zhi Xiaoduo said. Let's go. Wait a sec. What else are you waiting for? Zhi Xiaoduo grabbed Xian Hezi by the ear and dragged him away, to a round of loud laughter from the girls in the main hall. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. On Huan Street, Zhi Xiaoduo asked the meat vendor stall's boss the specifics of what had happened. Xian Hezi used his rusty Shaanxi dialect to communicate with him for a while, before finally learning that Yaoguai had dragged the lamb leg off towards the northern side. Zhi Xiaoduo said, we'll follow the bloodstains and search. The sky was growing dark, so Zhi Xiaoduo turned on a fluorescent lamp and shone it on the ground. The Pixiu had first snatched a leg of lamb from the first floor, before it dragged it up to the second floor, leaped off the roof, and escaped. Xian Hezi carried Zhi Xiaoduo in his arms, and with several steps, made it to the roof. The two of them leaped over the top, shining the light down on the bloodstains to trace where it had gone. The lamb leg's trail grew fainter and fainter. In front of a telephone pole, Xian Hezi found a small chunk of lamb meat that had dried out from the sun. It had evidently been caught on the pole and was left behind. The bloodstains led to a two-story building, where they then vanished. Zhi Xiaoduo pointed at the rooms, indicating that this was the place. He had Xian Hezi prepare to go inside, while he himself circled around to the main entrance. There's Yao energy, Xian Hezi said quietly. Yaoguai live here. The room was pitch black, but something flashed inside. It looked very odd. Zhi Xiaoduo nodded. Xian Hezi undid the latch and pulled the window open. Don't move. Xian Hezi bellowed. Exorcist committee business. Zhi Xiaoduo yelled. The two of them then dashed inside. Zhi Xiaoduo. It was actually two chicken yao. Zhi Xiaoduo roared, don't move. And saying that, Zhi Xiaoduo pulled out Xiang Cheng's dragon scale. The two chicken yao then let out another set of piercing cries as they ducked deeper inside the room to hide. The air was filled with flying chicken feathers, and Zhi Xiaoduo began to sneeze violently. The rooster yao was protecting the hen yao, and beneath them was a nest of eggs. The two chickens trembled with fear, the rooster's comb was standing straight up, and the hen yao was filled with horror as she glanced left and right, her eyes flicking this way and that, uneasily glancing at Zhi Xiaoduo. The two chickens were protecting a clutch of eggs. Who goes there? The rooster yao shouted loudly. We don't fall under the jurisdiction of the family planning department. Zhi Xiaoduo pressed one hand to his forehead. Xian Hezi searched through the entire house, but he didn't find the Pixiu. He came out and said, it's not here. Let's go talk at the Yao Association ba, Zhi Xiaoduo replied weakly. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The Xian Yao Association was located across the way from the Great Goose Pagoda. The Yao of the area were very wealthy, as this was one of the four most ancient gathering places for Yao across the nation. Previously, after the black-winged Great Peng had escaped out from under the Famen Temple, he had come first to Xi'an to recruit his followers. For the sake of celebrating the fall of the black-winged Great Peng's rule over them, the Yaoguai were gathering joyously. Across the Great Goose Pagoda, they set up a barrier, and they had also built a tower. The tower was named the Great Yao Pagoda, and it was decorated lavishly on the inside, fully displaying a nouveau-riche sense of aesthetics that no one could look at straight on. A sightseeing elevator had also been installed on the outside, and it led right to the top floor. The Great Goose Pagoda was 7 stories tall, so the Great Yao Pagoda had to be 9 stories. As soon as night fell, the entire tower began to flash wildly with lights from top to bottom, blinding Xian Hezi's pathetic eyes. As soon as Zhi Xiaoduo arrived in the doorway, a group of Yaoguai came running out to greet him. With endless cries of Empress, may you live for 1,000 years, and Empress, may you live for 10,000 years, they welcomed him in like the stars surrounding the moon. The head of the Xianyao Association was a plump and affable Arctic Gerfalcon Yao. It was currently on a call with the sacred land, but as soon as it saw Zhi Ziaduo arrive, it immediately steeped a cup of Han Shui Yinchuo, offered up a selection of desserts, and stood to one side awaiting orders. Xian Hezi was already completely numb to the sight of the pomp and circumstance that Zhi Ziaduo and Xiang Cheng received when they traveled. "Kneel," the head said to the two chicken Yao. The two chicken Yao shivered, and Zhi Ziaduo immediately said, "We are a socialist society, and all Yao are equal and have the same freedoms. There's no need to kneel, no need to kneel." The two chicken Yao's wings drooped, and they hung their heads low, shivering uncontrollably. "Did a pixie come to your house?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. "Gugugu, yes," the rooster Yao replied, shielding the hen Yao behind his back. "We didn't know it was the person the Empress was seeking." Zhi Ziaduo indicated that they shouldn't be afraid, and that he was very easy to talk to. After clarifying the situation, he learned that the Pixio had come, but it had run off again. That day, the Pixio had dragged a lamb leg into the chicken Yao's home, completely ignoring all bystander Yao as it wolfed down the leg. It then took a midday nap in the chicken Yao's home, ordered them not to tell anyone, and had the chicken Yao give it directions to a GPS location. "What?" Xian Hezi asked. "It knows how to talk." "It doesn't know how to speak human languages," the hen said, bolstering her courage. "Us chickens understand the general gist of what it's trying to say, Gugu." Zhi Ziaduo said, "Through the Yaogwai language?" "But everyone speaks human." The rooster Yao explained, and it was only then that Zhi Ziaduo understood that they had communicated via their aura and their gazes. This was an unprecedented realization. Xian Hezi asked, "Where is the region the location was in?" The rooster Yao pulled out his phone and pulled up his search history, handing the phone over to Zhi Ziaduo with both its wings. With a single glance, Xian Hezi handed it back, before saying, "It's returned to the temple. Let's go." Zhi Ziaduo hesitated for a moment. The Arctic Gyre Yao said carefully, Empress, since you've already come, this subordinate has ordered the best chef here to make some food. There will also be arts performances, and everyone's preparing to celebrate for 3 whole days." Though Zhi Ziaduo really wanted to eat, finding the Pixia was really important, so he said, "How about this? When the great king and I return, then we can celebrate together. Send out a car first and take us to the Anhua temple." Xian Hezi hurried out of the tower. The Yao Association had sent for 2 cars, and they had Yaogwai driving them. Xian Hezi offered that he knew the way and didn't need a driver, in order to prevent any further complications from happening. That same day, they left Xian behind, heading towards Qingling. Xiang Cheng called, asking, "Have you found it?" "We've found it," Zhi Ziaduo said. "We're currently heading into the mountains." "Have you eaten yet?" Xiang Cheng asked. "Not yet," Zhi Ziaduo replied. "But the Yao Association welcoming us prepared some snacks for us to eat along the way." Xiang Cheng ended, saying, "I'm done with my matters over here as well. I'll head over right away. After I arrive, I'll pay closer attention." "There won't be any issues," Zhi Ziaduo said, yawning. "Relax." The car drove into the dark forest. Zhi Ziaduo slumped in the front passenger seat and slept for a while, and when he woke up, he saw that Xian Hezi had draped his jacket over him. Xian Hezi asked, "You're awake? Are you hungry?" "I'm all right," Zhi Ziaduo replied dully. Xian Hezi said, "I'm really very sorry for you. You haven't been able to rest well on this entire trip." Zhi Ziaduo replied, "It's all right." Though Xian Hezi was usually very stingy and his clothes were very old, they were washed very clean. This time, Zhi Ziaduo had finally seen his earnest side, and he thought to himself that he wouldn't diss him in the future. After driving into Qingling, Xian Hezi got out of the car to ask for directions. He took Zhi Ziaduo with him to eat a bowl of noodles by the roadside, before driving into the mountains along the curving road. When the car arrived in a village, there was finally no way forward, and they would have to go by foot from there. Xian Hezi said, "Let's climb the mountain tomorrow and sleep here for a night." "It's all right," Zhi Ziaduo insisted. "It's not far, and if I can't climb any more then you can just carry me on your back." Xian Hezi hesitated for a bit, but he knew that Zhi Ziaduo also wanted to find the Pixio sooner rather than later, so he led the way up. A bright moon hung over the verdant mountains. Tonight just so happened to be the night of the 15th, and the moon turned the forest into a sea of silvery white. "By all means, your Shifu could have lived down the mountain," Zhi Ziaduo said. "When he was young, he didn't save any money, and all he did was sneak some incense, so when he was old, he had no money for retirement, so he had no choice but to suck on his disciples' blood. See how frightening that is." "When he was alive," Shifu said, Xian Hezi explained, "that the people of the world hustle and bustle about all the time, solely for the sake of money, money, money. Yet it is very rare that there are people who will halt at the sight of this intangible scenery." Zhi Ziaduo thought, that was just your Shifu sweet-talking you. Xian Hezi walked in front, before continuing, "Some people feel that being rich brings them happiness. Some people think that having a house and a car brings them happiness, but I feel that being able to be together with your family members, and being able to be as free as you want, is the happiest." "But you aren't with your family members," Zhi Ziaduo pointed out. That's true." Xian Hezi took an arrow to the knee. Zhi Ziaduo walked for a bit, before he felt tired. Xian Hezi wanted to carry him on his back, but he was also afraid that this move would be too intimate, and if Xiang Cheng learned of this, then it was very likely he would get beaten up. So, he went to one of the farming families living on the side of the mountain and borrowed a handcart, letting Zhi Ziaduo sit on the cart while he dragged it up the mountain. As they walked along, the cart stopped in front of a run-down temple, which was covered with cobwebs on the outside. "We're here." Xian Hezi swiftly went inside, shouting, "Hey! Are you here? Hurry up and come out. Stop shouting. Where's he?" Zhi Ziaduo got off the cart and went into the yard. The moonlight was bright, and he saw in the corner, there was a bread wrapper which had been bitten through. When he picked it up and took a look, there were still crumbs inside it, so it had evidently been brought back not too long ago. It was definitely here. In the temple, one of the spots originally made for worshipping a divine statue was empty. Evidently, the statue had been moved. But the empty spot didn't make sense. Zhi Ziaduo asked curiously, "The Pixio itself is a divine beast. Does it still need worshipping?" Xian Hezi replied, "Before, Shifu worshipped the great god Jianmu. We all cultivated our abilities from the carvings in the temple. Let's go home," Xian Hezi shouted in all directions. "Is it because I'm here that it's not willing to come out?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. Xian Hezi thought about that. Zhi Ziaduo offered of his own accord, "Then I'll wait outside." Xian Hezi went inside to search for the Pixio, while Zhi Ziaduo stood outside waiting. He called Xiang Cheng, but no one picked up. Zhi Ziaduo figured he was probably flying in the sky and didn't have any signal, so he started to look around. When Xian Hezi had been describing his hometown, he had described it prettily, but in reality, a single glance was all it took for Zhi Ziaduo to feel that the living circumstances here were far too terrible. There wasn't even a well on the mountain, so he had no idea how a group of orphans had managed to survive. The moon rose higher into the sky. Zhi Ziaduo stood under a pine tree, looking down. Suddenly, he felt a gust of Yao energy, and he immediately turned back. An odd Yaogui leaped at him at that moment, and Zhi Ziaduo let out a loud yelp, his voice echoing through the valley. Zhi Xiaoduo had yet to come back to his senses, and he hadn't even seen clearly what was ambushing him. That monster seemed like a bundle of plasticky paper, and with a hulala, it tangled around him, taking him flying out into the valley. Xiaoduo. Xian Hezi was immediately so frightened that he felt as if he had lost half his lifespan. If anything happened to Zhi Xiaoduo, then Xiang Cheng would definitely chop him into mincemeat. What Pixiu, what job, none of that was important anymore. He immediately dashed out of the temple. Zhi Xiaoduo shouted angrily, "You dare to rebel? Where did you come from, you Yaoguai? How dare you even capture me?" That monster let out a loud "Ga" before it turned over in the air, plummeting straight down into the valley. Zhi Xiaoduo began to shout wildly, one of his hands grasping aimlessly around him, before he suddenly grabbed a piece of bamboo. A bamboo yao? That wasn't right. How could there be paper on the bamboo yao's body? And for it to be wax paper. Borrowing the light of the moon, Zhi Xiaoduo glanced over a good portion of that Yaoguai's body, and he immediately froze. That was a kite almost 3 meters long. How could that be? Had this kite also become a spirit? This was the first time that Zhi Xiaoduo had seen a kite yao in his life, and he forgot about the dangers. What did this mean? It meant that a new type of being had come into existence. How could this be? Xian Hezi then leaped off the cliffside, his two Tang Dao crossing then slicing outwards. He chanted a spell as he did so, and as he leaped, the trees throughout the valley began to grow wildly, crisscrossing densely. In the span of a single second, the kite split like silk with a shua into several pieces. The trees automatically formed a staircase, but just as they were about to reach the ground, something suddenly changed. In that moment, Zhi Xiaoduo felt an instinctual sense of danger, that was a warning derived solely from his instincts. And as expected, when they approached the cliffside, all of the vines came whipping at them in a single instant. Watch! Before Zhi Xiaoduo could finish shouting, Xian Hezi shielded him with his body. The vines hit him several times across his body, and the two of them went flying out at the same time, falling into the dense forest. With snaps and crackles, the branches broke. Zhi Xiaoduo fell heavily from the canopy, the world turning around him. Xian Hezi fell right to the ground, and he let out a loud cry of pain. Zhi Xiaoduo felt as if his entire skeleton was about to collapse from that fall, but the situation was too fraught, so he had no time to spare to check his wounds. He pulled Xian Hezi to his feet and moved to run, while behind them, the vines clustered densely, instantly spreading out into the forest. Xian Hezi was still gasping for breath, and he shouted, "Third eldest. Is that you? No way, it was your Shidi who attacked us." Zhi Xiaoduo said, enraged. "They don't know, wait." Xian Hezi staggered along, one arm slung across Zhi Xiaoduo's shoulders. He kept turning back to look. The vines grew more and more numerous, and Zhi Xiaoduo, upon seeing that there was almost no path for them to escape down any longer, glanced left and right, asking, "What should we do?" "We're on your side." Xian Hezi raised his voice. "Your side?" But the vines did not listen to him. In the blink of an eye, like an army thundering towards them, they were upon them. Zhi Xiaoduo had no way out at all, and he thought, "I'll let you all catch me. Just wait until Xiang Cheng burns you all to ash." Xian Hezi was silent for a moment, before his hands formed a seal. He gestured for Zhi Xiaoduo to not be afraid, and he shielded him with his body. 3 seconds later, the vines swept over them, curling towards them from all around. Xian Hezi sucked in a deep breath, and he yelled angrily. At basically the same moment, a bright light shone forth from Xian Hezi's body, as bright as a blazing sun. Under Zhi Xiaoduo's feet, the dirt exploded outwards in a roiling wave of impact, scattering outward in ring after ring. The undergrowth was pulled up by its roots, and the entire valley turned on its head. Originally, Zhi Ziaduo thought that Xian Hezi had cast some wood-class spell, but he hadn't thought that he would instead summon up all the trees in the valley and make them upend themselves, using their roots as feet to charge in all directions. The vines were immediately forced back, and the trees went crowding outwards. From afar came the sound of a pained shout. Evidently, a barrier had been broken. Xian Hezi startled, before shouting, "Is that fourth eldest?" No one replied. Xian Hezi took a step after in pursuit, but his left leg was injured, so he immediately used his sword to support himself, narrowly avoiding falling onto the ground. The trees fell. Xian Hezi looked to be in great pain, and he said to Zhi Ziaduo, "I'll wait here for a rescue. I can't move around aimlessly. Xiang Chen will be here very soon." Zhi Ziaduo knew that the ring must have, at that moment, already notified Xiang Chen. All that remained in question was whether he would transform into a dragon and fly over, or if he was on a plane. If he was on a plane, he wouldn't be able to jump out of the plane, so he would probably take a while longer to get there. Zhi Ziaduo bandaged Xian Hezi up, and Xian Hezi said quietly, "In a bit, you run first. I'll use my wood spells to send you down the mountain. Run, and don't look back. When you get to the village, drive the car." He pressed the car keys into Zhi Ziaduo's hands. Their surroundings were silent. The sky was already growing fuzzily bright, and technically speaking, there should have been the cries of birds, but it was incomparably silent. "On your side?" Zhi Ziaduo only used 3 words to ask that question. Xian Hezi gulped, but he didn't speak. Zhi Ziaduo said, "I won't leave." He yanked Xian Hezi's collar and dragged him behind the tree. From afar came the tut-tut of a flatbed truck. The morning sunlight shone through the trees, shining on their heads. Someone from the village, dressed in a terrible outfit, with his hair dyed golden. Zhi Ziaduo shielded Xian Hezi behind him, turning to face the man. "Who are you?" Xian Hezi asked, surprised. "Stop with the nonsense," the man said. "Come with me. Don't put up a fight." The man was holding a pair of handcuffs, and he locked them around Xian Hezi's left hand and Zhi Ziaduo's right. He dragged the 2 of them onto the truck. One side of the truck was still piled high with tiles. Zhi Ziaduo said into Xian Hezi's ear, "Don't be afraid, Xiang Chen will come rescue us very soon." But from beginning to end, Xian Hezi did not speak. Instead, he studied the person driving the truck. The truck circled around the valley and drove for a whole 2 hours, before coming to a stop in front of a dilapidated village. The village was broken down and in disrepair, and it was evident that no one had lived here for a long time. "Get out," the man said. From within walls made of mounds of soil came the sound of a dog barking. The 2 of them were yanked down, and that man also kicked Xian Hezi once. Zhi Ziaduo grew enraged, and he said, "His legs hurt." "Ayo, slower, slower, Diga, slower," a voice said from within the room. Zhi Ziaduo was filled with rage, and he was just about to start spewing a torrent of anger on Xian Hezi's behalf, when the others appeared. He startled instead. "Are you all trying to be a beggar group?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. "Shut up." That was a young man not yet 30 years of age, wearing tattered clothes, his hair in disarray. He immediately stepped forward and slapped Zhi Ziaduo. Xian Hezi immediately shoved Zhi Ziaduo behind him, shouting, "Second eldest." "Hey, big brother," that young man said. "You still have the face to come back." Zhi Ziaduo. Xian Hezi looked around at their surroundings, saying, "The one who ambushed me was you." "Why?" That young man laughed coldly. "So, what if I attacked you? You're a traitor who has betrayed your master and your ancestors." Xian Hezi froze, only to hear from the next yard over, someone asking, "Has that bastard surnamed Xian come back?" Immediately, several more people came. Xian Hezi looked around at them, and asked, in shock, "Third eldest, fourth eldest, you guys?" Several young people, their clothes ragged and in disrepair, their faces covered in dirt, closed in on Xian Hezi. They were angry, and were evidently worked up, because in a cacophony of voices, they pointed at Xian Hezi. They threw the scene into chaos. "Wait, wait," Zhi Xiaoduo said. "Wait, ah." Xian Hezi gasped for air. Tears swelled up in his eyes, he was evidently being reminded of his past memories. "All of you, shut up." Zhi Xiaoduo shouted angrily, and it finally quieted. Zhi Xiaoduo asked, confused, "Why do you all hate him so much? He's the eldest Shikshan, so what has he done wrong?" Everyone angrily humphed at that. Someone even spat onto the ground. The one who had been addressed as second eldest, who was evidently their leader, said, "Ask him yourself what he's done." "Don't waste words on him," another young man said. "Lock them both up and notify the Sprat's family members that they'll need to cough up a ransom." "That's right," someone else said, pointing and gesturing at Zhi Xiaoduo. "This person is rich." Zhi Xiaoduo thought, "This is absurd. Fussing around all this time just for the sake of asking for money." Xian Hezi finally calmed down, and he asked, "Have you guys already sunk so low? If it hadn't been for you," the second eldest roared, "would we have gotten to such a point?" Xian Hezi was speechless. A moment later, he said, "That's right, not mailing any money back is my bad, but you guys." Zhi Xiaoduo initially thought that Xian Hezi was going to say, "But you guys have hands and feet, can't you go work?" What Xian Hezi said instead was, "After Shifu died, you guys left." Xian Hezi wailed, "Even if I wanted to send money, I didn't know where to send it to." Zhi Xiaoduo immediately tripped. "How much money do you have now?" second eldest asked. Xian Hezi hesitated for a moment, before asking, "Shifu's child is in your hands, right? Return it to me, and I'll go into town right away to get the money." Zhi Xiaoduo wanted nothing more than to hit Xian Hezi with a good slap, but their wrists were cuffed together, so he couldn't move them. "Save it," third eldest said through his teeth. "We won't trust a liar like you any longer." "Hey!" Xian Hezi and Zhi Xiaoduo were searched, before they were pushed into a room. They then took another pair of handcuffs and cuffed Xian Hezi's other hand to the window frame. Their surroundings were dark, and there were only 2 buckets on the floor. Xian Hezi let out a sigh. Zhi Xiaoduo studied their surroundings, before coming back to the window, only to see them standing around in the courtyard discussing how to demand a ransom. "Are they all your shittas?" Zhi Xiaoduo asked. Xian Hezi, "Yes." Zhi Xiaoduo was torn between laughing and crying. "They have hands and feet. Did you never teach them to do work on their own?" Xian Hezi replied, "It's all my fault. I raised them, but I didn't teach them." From the outside came sounds of discussion. "That brat looks like he's very rich. How much should we eke out of him?" "At least 200,000 probably." 200,000? Can his family afford to give that much? 258,000. All of you, stop talking. Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo sucked in a deep breath as he felt a sense of utter humiliation. For the sake of 258,000, they kidnapped him? 2 million was one thing, were they looking down on him? Plus, you might as well ask for a whole number, is rounding not doable for you? They weren't asking for 250 or 260 or even 300, but rather 258, were they looking to make him pay their personal income taxes on top of the ransom amount? "Say, you guys," Zhi Xiaoduo finally couldn't resist speaking up, "do you know who my man is?" "Who cares who your man is?" the second eldest said. "Shut up." Xian Hezi replied, "Release Xiaoduo. If you have any grudges, come at me instead. We'll calculate what you owe us later, the second eldest said. Ignore them. Let's go eat first. With that, the third eldest set up a pot and the fourth eldest started a fire, and the three of them circled around the pot and started to cook. Where's fifth eldest? Xian Hezi asked. He left, the youngest one of them replied. Xian Hezi relaxed slightly, before asking, and where's little Shidi? The group laughed raucously at that. Hearing Xian Hezi call that Pixio little Shidi tickled them pink. A cry of AO came from the next room over, and Ji Xiaoduo heard it as well, that Pixio was probably not too far away. After that, Xian Hezi's shit is finished cooking. Inside the pot were 2 packets of instant noodles. Ji Xiaoduo. We'll be getting our hands on money very soon, the second eldest said. Let's have a proper meal first. Erga has cooked 2 packets of noodles. Wow. Ji Xiaoduo. Once we get the 258,000, how should we spend it? What do you guys think? There's also the money that the one surnamed Xian earned. The three of them began to discuss in the courtyard. Xian Hezi didn't leave either, he tugged on the handcuffs, indicating that Ji Xiaoduo should sit. Let's wait for Xiang Cheng to get here, Ji Xiaoduo said comfortingly. Xian Hezi had one hand pressed to his forehead, and he said, sorry. These brats haven't learned properly, that's all my fault. All Ji Xiaoduo could think about was that there were heavens beyond the heavens he could see, and humans beyond the humans he understood. No longer would he ever feel that Xian Hezi was stingy. Xian Hezi leaned against the corner of the wall, before he suddenly began to chuckle to himself. What are you laughing about? Ji Xiaoduo asked. My past self was just like them, Xian Hezi said to Ji Xiaoduo. It's very laughable, isn't it? Your Shifu's pedagogy is very problematic, Ji Xiaoduo replied expressionlessly. You've never been poor, so you wouldn't understand. Xian Hezi shook his head helplessly and smiled. Ji Xiaoduo said, they have hands and feet, and they also know how to use magic. Can't they go into the city and find some work? They feel it's exhausting, Xian Hezi explained. To put it bluntly, they're lazy. Then how about before? Ji Xiaoduo asked. Did they not do anything in the temple as well? Xian Hezi nodded. Ji Xiaoduo continued to ask him questions. If you went out during the day to make money and raise them, then what were these shitties doing? They would lie in bed at home and sleep, Xian Hezi explained. Once I got back, I'd wake them up to practice their martial arts. Was your Shifu like this too? Ji Xiaoduo found this to be incomprehensible. Xian Hezi nodded, and he replied, the little Pixio is like this too. Ji Xiaoduo was completely defeated. He could not bring himself to understand how such people, who would willingly be poor and do nothing but lie in bed, could exist. Wouldn't they get bored? Xian Hezi continued seriously, many of the villages in Shaanxi are like this as well. They're poor and lazy, and they just lie in bed all day during the day, or they wander around aimlessly. Ji Xiaoduo indicated that he didn't need to say any more. He glanced outside, only to see that Xian Hezi's 3 shitties had finished eating. They had split up the 2 packets of instant noodles amongst the 3 of them, but they were evidently still hungry. After they finished eating their fill, they once again began to do absolutely nothing. The third eldest said, "Erge, I'm going to sleep." Fourth eldest, "Go into town and make a call," the second eldest said. "Hey, give me your family member's phone number and tell your family members to come and bring money as your ransom." Ji Xiaoduo wrote down Xiang Cheng's phone number and gave it to them, thinking, once he gets here in a bit, you'll have the time of your lives. End chapter.